Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. My name is Shyamkanu Mahanta and today we shall talk on a very serious subject which is debated and discussed in various platforms. Northeast India need a separate time zone. Is it feasible? Will it bring more alienation or it will bring positive impact to the most underdeveloped regions of India? Today, we shall talk about the background of this demand, the pros and cons, and why we need a separate time zone. The issue of separate time zone has been debated and discussed over the last many years. 1st September 1947, the Indian Standard Time was introduced for the first time in India. The Indian Standard Time is 5.5 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time and is observed throughout the country. From Kangla to Cape Comorin, from Kibitu to Guarmota, the northern, southern, eastern and western extremes of India. If you were to travel across the breadth of the country, it would take you 2 days, 21 hours and 36 minutes of non-stop driving. Our country stretches less than 3,000 kilometers from east to west, spanning with 2 hours difference in mean solar times. Meaning, the sun rises 2 hours earlier in Arunachal Pradesh than in Gujarat. As such, the demand for a separate time zone for Northeast India has a very strong scientific base. In the Northeast, summertime, sun rises around 4:15 in the morning, and in winter anywhere between 4 to 5. Dawn in Lohit district of Arunachal Pradesh is first to go sunlight in India. This is nearly 2 hours before at Guharmoti in Gujarat, the westernmost part of India. By the time offices and schools open up, many daylight hours are lost. 10 o'clock in Gujarat is around 12 noon in Northeast, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. Maulik Jagnani, an economist at Cornell University, argues that a single time zone leads to decline of quality of sleep, especially for poor children. Mr. Jagnani also says the back-of-envelope estimate suggested that India would accrue annual human capital gains of over $4.2 billion if the country switched from existing single time zone to the proposed two-time zone policy. A 2019 study of New York Cornell University has found that India incurs annual human capital cost of roughly $4.1 billion, nearly 29,000 crore. Due to the existing policy regulating the time zone boundaries. Advancing the time by 30 minutes alone could save 2.7 billion units of electricity every year. As per the research done by Professor Dr. D.P. Sengupta and Dilip Ahuja of National Institute of Advanced Studies. 29,000 crores of capital costs. Savings is a huge one. This was established by India's National Timekeeper, Council of Scientific Industrial Research and National Physical Laboratory, CSIR-NPL, which maintains the Indian Standard Time. Scientists at NPL published a research article describing the necessity of two time zones. They suggested two time zones with new one, an hour ahead of the existing time zone, is needed for the country. The new one will cover the northeast of India and can be demarcated at the time zone at the Chicken Neck. We talk about the Chicken Neck that connects the narrow 22-kilometer corridor that connects the rest of India to northeast. Those of you all know that northeast India shares 98% boundaries with countries like Myanmar, China, Bangladesh, Bhutan. The research paper further establishes that India's potential savings in energy consumption could be as high as whopping 20 million kilowatt hour a year if it follows two time zones. So electricity is a serious constraint in Northeast. We have power shortage and we buy a lot of power from outside. Although we have the largest hydro resources in the entire country, Northeast is shortage of power. So this 20 million kilowatt hour a year is a huge savings for the entire country. How can it be done? It can be done simply by using many daylight hours, calling it a day with an early sunset. Will lead to lower consumption of electricity. We close the office at 5 p.m. right now and it goes beyond 6-7 in the evening. If you prepone it by up to 4 p.m. then we save a lot of electricity. Besides electricity, we would also have healthier and happier people who adhere to the circadian rhythm. Wake up and go to bed with sun, get more vitamin D. Even now, Officially, the tea garden areas of Assam is following Chai Bagan time, which is 1 hour ahead. Since British times, Chai Bagan time has been used in most of the tea gardens of Assam and rest of Northeast. So the two time zones suggested are IST1, which is same as present right now, UTC plus 5.30. IST2 could be UTC plus 6.30, owing to the difference of 1 hour between eastern and western and rest of the country. The borderline between two time zones will be the chicken neck, 89 degree 52 east. The borderline between two time zones will be 89 degree 52 east, the chicken neck, narrow border between Assam and West Bengal. So this is a suggestion by the timekeeper. See, we are not saying it, the timekeeper of India is saying it, that India needs two time zones. So this is a demand, long pending. This is a demand for a separate time zone. Northeastern leaders, intelligentsia has been asking about separate time zone for a long time. Recently, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma in Assembly demanded a separate time zone for the Northeast. Members from across political parties and from the different northeastern states have been asking about it. Across Congress, BJP, AZP, MPs have been demanding for a long time, from Himanta Biswa Sarma to Pema Khandu to Pradyut Bordoloi, Arun Sharma. All these MPs or chief ministers has been talking about it for a long time. It was first raised in March 2002, and in August the same year, Minister for Science and Technology Mr. B.S. Rawat said no. In 2006, the Planning Commission has recommended two different time zones for the country. However, it was never implemented. A high-level committee set up by Indian Ministry for Science and Technology has suggested advancing work timings by 1 hour. In January 2014, the then Assam Chief Minister Mr. Tarun Gogoi had proposed that Assam should follow the Chai Bagan time. As mentioned earlier, Chai Bagan time, the tea gardens time is 1 hour before Indian Standard Time. The dynamic Arunachal Chief Minister Pema Khandu took it up strongly in 2017. He said, "We get up as early as 4 in the morning. Several daylight hours are wasted as government offices starts at 10 and close at 4 p.m. The matter has also been taken to court, but Guwahati High Court the same year, 2017, has rejected the public interest litigation. The panel formed in 2018 by Government of India recommended that separate time zone is not proper, not acceptable for strategic reasons. In Lok Sabha, the then Union Minister for Science and Technology, Mr. Dr. Harshvardhan, informed that this could not be accepted on strategic ground. But what is that strategic ground was never explained. Two well-known researchers have noted that there is no need to create a separate time zone in India. Instead, they suggested that all that is needed to be done is to advance the Indian Standard Time by 30 minutes to reduce the problem caused due to the sheer vastness of India. Mr. Dilip Ahuja from the National Institute of Advanced Studies and Dr. D.P. Sen Gupta from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, while speaking at a talk conducted by Observer Research Foundation in Mumbai, opined that having two different time zones could lead to confusion, possibility of accidents, and a likelihood of misuse of political means to divide the country. He was meaning about Northeast India and rest of India. They suggested, based on 4-decade-long serious study on the subject, a simple yet sound solution. They suggested a 30-minute advancement to Indian Standard Time. Amidst these pros and cons of having two time zones for the country, no implementable solution has been arrived so far. So what are the main objections to separate time zones? Many authors, experts have been vocal against the separate time zones. The main points they have been raising are as follows. A change in timing could create division between Northeast India and rest of India. It could instigate separatism. Change in time zones could lead to chaos and confusion, especially when it comes to air travel. Scheduling changes will happen and it might create accidents. Not only air travel, also rail travel. This is a major objection raised by many experts. The timing changes or separate time zones into locations will create serious confusion in air travel and rail travel. The intelligence agencies of India believe that separate time zones would encourage militants. The many seeking secession in the region will get a chance to say that India is we are always different as we have separate time zones. Alienation to mainland India is a major issue for Northeast India. A separate time zone for Northeast, people might feel more alienated. The integration process of India, that India is trying to develop, that integration process has been a process for last many years. The entire effort will be hampered. The separatists might take advantage and spread hatred against India. Many experts have been talking on this line. Many also opine that administration issues might come, especially government functioning in northeastern states and coordination with central administration in Delhi. Most of the Northeast are very much dependent on central grants, so they need to work in a very close association, coordination with Government of India. Politically, if you see, whatever government comes in Delhi, generally northeastern states follow the same pattern of government. And in Arunachal, many a times, changing in government, in fact, Gegong Apang did it. They changed their party to BJP when Bajpayee came to power. Separate time zones within one country might hamper business networking, stock markets and commodity markets in the country, which is very important for Indian economy at this moment of time. These are some of the points raised by those opposing against the separate time zone. Now let us talk about the time zone issues in other countries. Bangladesh and Myanmar, both are very near to Northeast India, are 1 hour ahead of Indian Standard Time. Countries across the world have multiple time zones. France has 12 standard times. This is maximum in the world. Followed by USA and Russia, both have 11 time zones. Australia has 8 time zones. The United Kingdom, New Zealand, Brazil and many other countries have multiple time zones. Countries in Africa, North America, South America, they use daylight saving time, DST. They change the clock, the setting of the clocks. During summertime, they forward the clock by 1 hour from their standard time. And during winter, they follow the standard time of the particular country. This enables them to make better use of daylight. This is DST, daylight saving time. Around 70 countries across the world use multiple time zones or daylight saving times. India is an exception. Before independence, the country was following separate time zones, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras time zones. Based on the local times for these 3 presidencies, Calcutta was 24 minutes ahead of current Indian Standard Time. Madras was 9 behind the current IST. Bombay was 1.19 minutes behind the current IST. The Chai Bagan time, as already mentioned, 1 hour ahead of Indian Standard Time. So India had separate time zones before independence. After independence, 1st September 1947, India started Indian Standard Time, which is followed across India. So my take on why Northeast India needed a separate time zone. We all know the Northeast India has been lagging behind for a very long period of time. Pre-independence, the region was very prosperous. Seamless connectivity through Bangladesh, Bhutan, because India was never divided at a time. So ensured the movement of goods all across the world. It took 8 days for shipload of tea, timber and coal from Dibrugarh to Kolkata via Bangladesh. Now it takes 30 days, mostly because of night navigation issues and Bangladesh protocol issues. Chittagong port was a port used by northeastern states for sending the materials, raw materials as well as finished products across the world. Now Chittagong port is lost in 1947 and since then the Northeast started going down. Undivided Assam in 1947, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Arunachal was mostly part of Assam. The undivided Assam during independence was the 5th largest economy of the country. However, post-independence, we lost the exit route. Chittagong port is gone, river connectivity to Bangladesh stopped or hampered due to issues in Bangladesh and East Pakistan actually at the time. And after 75th year of independence, Northeast India, after so much of planning, still lagging behind in all important indicators in the rest of India, national average. Health, be it education, be it per capita income, poverty, all critical indicators, Northeast India is lagging behind the national average. The productivity of manpower is the major challenge of this region. Lahe Lahe, everybody knows it. Assam and Northeast is known as Lahe Lahe. Things go slow. Laziness, slow in work is a serious problem in this 21st century. So this productivity issue, can it be handled? The next 25 years is considered Amrit Kal with the vision of our Prime Minister. 25 years leading to the 100 year of India's independence will be Amrit Kal. A complete change in approach is needed to turning around the Northeast India to a prosperous zone. Ashtalakshmi, our Prime Minister has been talking about Ashtalakshmi for a long time, and a lot of focus has come on Ashtalakshmi. A separate time zone, 1 hour ahead of Indian Standard Time as suggested, might help in taking advantage of sunlight, which will help in productivity across sectors. It will also provide health benefit to children, and most importantly, it will help in changing the positive work narrative for Northeast India. To make this region industrially and economically active, productivity will be the key. The region has a lot of resources, and new Actis policy is focused by our Prime Minister. ASEAN countries connectivity projects are happening. Trilateral highway that connects Moreh in Manipur goes to Masot in Thailand is 1360 kilometer highway which connects Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand and goes up to Singapore. The road will happen in next 2-3 years and will open up Northeast India to entire Southeast Asia. So we want this Northeast India to be the hub of production and development process. It should not be like a overbridge. The development process goes to Southeast Asia and rest of India. Northeast India must be benefited out of these connectivity issues. That it becomes the gateway. Right now is the periphery of center at the lowest point, at the furthermore east point. After this connectivity project, Northeast India will be the gateway to Southeast Asia. At this moment of time, Northeast must be ready for the huge changes in entire economic dynamics that are going to happen in next few years. For that, I believe it is important to, like what we call in startup industry, shake up. Disruptive effect is needed in Northeast. Changing the timelines, will it be a disruptive effect which will make a very positive gain for the entire Northeast India? Let us analyze the objection. What are the main opponents are talking about against the time zone for Northeast? They talk about alienation, that a separate time zone will create alienation. I beg to differ here. The feeling of alienation was very strong in Northeast for a long period of time. Still remember 1962, Jawaharlal Nehru's word, my heart goes for people of Assam. People of Assam was very angry when Chinese attacked in India, and then Prime Minister virtually left Assam to fight itself. And at that moment of time, somehow with the intervention of world forces, China retracted. That still is an issue in Northeast. The alienation, for a very long period of time, the people of Northeast believe that India, rest of India, the government at Delhi has taken Northeast very lightly. The connectivity was extremely poor. The focus was poor. The understanding was poor. And media never highlighted about Northeast. These are serious grievances against the rest of India. Alienation and the issue of racial attack, these are the issues really affect the Northeastern people. However, the people of Northeast are very proud Indians, and Northeast India has a strong contribution to India's independence as well as the entire development process. So things are changing. Post-2000, focus on Northeast has increased substantially. H.D. Devegowda first talked about in 1997, he was running a United Front government. He talked about a package for Northeast in 1997. How much of this package has come, I don't know. But at least a separate focus for Northeast for the first time, perhaps in 1997. When Atal Bihari Vajpayee came to power, he had a strong connect with Northeast and he had extremely good image in Northeast India. And during his time, the Bharat Jodo Yojana was started. They started talking about road connecting Dimapur, Kohima, and many other places. So Vajpayee's time, Northeast India started getting focus. It was taken forward during Manmohan Singh tenure, who was Rajya Sabha MP from Assam. People were expecting more, but still there was focus on Northeast, and there was a lot of funds that started coming in at that period of time, especially in the health sector and the education sector to Northeast. Things got totally changed, or maximum focus has started after 2014 when Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister. The importance of Northeast has gone up substantially. The Prime Minister himself keep on talking about Northeast. Bharat Mata to Bhupen Hazarika, the bridge in Arunachal Pradesh, and a lot of other connectivity projects in Nagaland and Manipur, and especially politically also a lot of interest was taken by India's ruling dispensation in Northeast. The importance of Northeast has gone up substantially. The alienation is much slower. The connectivity, mainly in hilly areas, has brought people closer. The IT boom and social media has brought Northeast closer to the rest of India. We organize Northeast Festival in Delhi since 2013-14 onwards. And Northeast Festival has been able to create awareness about Northeast in Delhi and rest of the country. And we have seen a lot of interest in national media about Northeast India. In fact, Northeast Festival news has come substantially by major newspapers from Times of India, Hindu, Indian Express, and all the national TV channels. They showcase Northeast, and importance of Northeast in national media has gone up substantially. In last podcast, I talked about Himanta Biswa Sarma, Assam Chief Minister, was getting a lot of focus in national media for his political role. So our politicians, our sports person like Mary Kom, Mirabai Chanu, Lavlina Borgohain, and many others revered across India, they also helped play a major role in bringing Northeast together. Our musicians, Papon, Rubin Garg, and Shillong Chamber of Commerce, and many other musicians has gone global. They have gone across India. They become popular, and our dance forms become popular. And tourism has brought Northeast closer because the perception that credit must be given to government of India and our Prime Minister for talking about Northeast and beauty of Northeast. A lot of campaigns by different state governments, Arunachal, Meghalaya, Assam, and our Northeast Festival initiative has created a lot of awareness about Northeast as a tourism destination. Tourists started coming in a big number. The Shanghai Festival, especially Hornbill Festival, became very popular. A lot of tourists started coming in, and more tourists comes, and they understand about Northeast. The bloggers, the food bloggers, they started writing about Northeast. So Northeast has become much more well known within India. The popularity, people know. People come from Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, and people started coming to Northeast. And connectivity, the flight connectivity. Right now, many flights to Delhi, around 15-16 flights to Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and now we have flight to the remotest parts of Arunachal. The Flybig Airlines goes to Pasighat, Tezu. Imphal is very well connected. Aizawl is very well connected. So Dimapur is now connected. So connectivity has helped, and the rail line has gone to Arunachal Pradesh to Tripura. The connectivity has helped people to understand and travel between both the regions, Northeast India and rest of India, and as a result, we are much more closer to rest of India. So, quite clear for me, and most importantly, another point I must mention, most of the insurgent groups of Northeast have laid down their arms. Alpha is absolutely one of the most powerful insurgent group, is more or less very weak now in Assam. In Nagaland, NSCN has come to a final stage of the negotiation with the government of India. The Bodo insurgent groups, they've all laid arms, NDFB, BLT, KPLT from Karbi Anglong, and the dreaded DSD from Dima Hasao. They all laid arms. And Manipur, most of the insurgent groups have laid arms, and as a result, laid down their arms. And peace process has started. So entire Northeast now is slowly coming back to normalcy, and incidents are hardly any. Agitation culture is denounced by people. I have seen, if somebody called for agitation, hardly any people come these days. Earlier the agitation was a way of life, and they started the Assam movement in Assam. Most of the agitation did not give result, and slowly people has lost confidence in agitation culture, and insurgency is no longer an happening thing. There is strong urge to be part of development process amongst people. People want development. They are fed up with insurgency, underdevelopment, and the agitation culture. So with that backdrop, for me, the concern for further alienation cannot be a strategic reason for not allowing separate time zones in Northeast. People of Northeast now slowly integrating. Next few years it will be more integrated, and through extensive campaign it can be done. So alienation cannot be the strategic reason that was said earlier in Parliament. It cannot be the strategic reason for not allowing separate time zones for Northeast. Yes, a separate time zone might create technical issues in terms of flight timings, train traffic management, etc. Because if you are starting from Delhi at 10 o'clock, and whereas you reach Guwahati at 12:30, now you reach at 11:30 in Guwahati Standard Time. So there lies a catch in terms of issues in traffic management or in rail traffic management. My point is that if France can manage 12 time zones, like so many other countries, and Russia can manage 11 time zones, why cannot India? We have such a strong IT capabilities. Why cannot we manage 2 time zones? Technically, India is much more stronger in terms of efficiency and capability. So I'm certain that we can manage 2 time zones. I don't see a problem, serious problem technically. Will is important. If will is there, 2 time zones is very much possible in India. We need to have a serious discussion on the subject. This discussion must be amongst the stakeholders, especially the civil society of Northeast. Do the Northeast need timelines? I'm certain that most of the Northeastern people will say, yes, we need timelines, separate timelines for Northeast. The issue might be intelligence or security forces. A serious consultation is needed. If they talk in open arms at the present level of the security scenario in Northeast India, technically, I doubt that our security agencies will also oppose to this. Yes, technical expert, what are the issues in terms of a separate time zones? These issues need to be debated technically, and it must be debated amongst the best of experts of India, and we must take experts from outside and then find a way out. Is it possible? For me, it's possible. And what technical experts say? If the technical experts believe it's possible to have a separate time zone and there will be no effect on the traffic movements and other technical issues, why not India look for a separate time zone? This issue is a long pending one. I remember Pradut Borla, MP from Congress, as demanded in 2019 in Parliament, talked about this, a separate resolution. So Congress and BJP, AGP, all parties have been talking about it from the Northeast. So we talk about, I believe, the need for a startup kind of mentality. A disruption is needed in the Northeast to change it. And for me, separate timelines, the gains far outweighs the losses. I believe it's time for the Northeast India to be handled by the government of India. This can be the out-of-box thinking, which will increase productivity for the local people of Northeast, which is also very important, as I strongly believe the development process has to be driven by the local people of the Northeast. And we have a social dynamics, so many tribes, so many communities, a complex structure, and people must be empowered in terms of productivity, in terms of knowledge, so that they define the future of Northeast India and they define the future of the country. And I strongly believe that for India to become a developed state, Northeast India has to go up manifold, because on many parameters, Northeast is dragging down the national average because of its poor indicators of health and per capita income. If Northeast develops, India develops. And Northeast is strategically very important for India, especially with aggressive China is lurking around Northeast India. So we need to ensure Northeast gets the right focus in terms of resources, in terms of strategy, and Northeast can only develop if we increase productivity. Agriculture is the main income of Northeast. Agriculture productivity, government productivity. There is an allegation that the governments of Northeastern states are much slower than the rest of India. The productivity increase, the separate time zone can be a very serious factor. I would urge the people across the country, the intelligentsia and the media to discuss about it. And I would urge Government of India to do a thorough research on the subject and come out with a solution. We need a technical solution to this issue. Northeast India needs a separate time zones. And if not, why? That should be specifically defined. We believe we need a separate time zones that are technically feasible. And if there is a will, there will be a way. And I hope in coming days, and there will be a lot of discussion on the subject, and with the concurrence of various stakeholders and consensus, Government of India can take a decision in this regard. Thank you so very much.